Great news! Though a popular idea is that our world is full of problems, it only amounts to one single problem. That is, it lacks truth. Others say all you need is love. That's right, but totally misleading. The reason is that society at large has no idea what love is. Many people's concept of love is as far from reality as Pluto is far away from Earth. People think that always helping someone get immediate pleasure is love, and whenever someone hampers your immediate pleasure, it's lack of love or hate. A good example that disproves this is heroin abuse. Though giving a most intense pleasure, that is always far outweighed by many extremely painful cravings and withdrawals. It destroys the person completely. Most people understand stuff like that, but ignore how their words and actions or lack thereof will affect themselves or others years later. Other people may not understand that though their behavior helps themselves and their acquaintances, unknown others may be hurt by those behaviors. Yet others may not understand how so-called love and progress will harm society several generations down the road. Most do not understand that prioritizing happiness instead of sacrifice will lead to unhappiness in a next life. So my objective is speaking the hard truth, and I see truth and love as virtually the same thing, love being truth and truth being love. However, I focus on the truth facet of the equation since love has been prostituted into a big heart-shaped bowl of diarrhea. On the contrary, the concept of truth can be easily understood as everyone understands that 2 and 2 make 4, and you cannot be loving before first being truthful. Now here are sources that lack truth. First, television. There is a reason it's called the idiot box. It peddles bags of lies. So does the radio. Newspapers and magazines often have no more truth than toilet paper and are just as distorted with filth. Some books are good, many are trash. And I wouldn't trust what schools and universities have to say unless they're teaching something that cannot be distorted, like pure mathematics. They often engage in brainwashing. Your parents and grandparents can be fine sources of truth, and you should honor them. But however well-meaning they are, they could be hoodwinked by those unreliable and corrupt sources of information. Now I have a shortcut to finding truth. I declare that every single idea without exception that was not popular in some circle before 1900 is automatically wrong. Sometimes we must go back before 1700 to find the truth. And sometimes we must go back before 1300 for the truth. That's because the human body, human brain, and human spirit, our nature, has remained unchanged for eons. Therefore, modernism oftentimes, in postmodernism all the time, are wrong de facto. The Dark Ages were not the Middle Ages. We're headed into the Dark Ages right now. Humans have been on Earth for a very long time with plenty of opportunities for great thinkers to gather enough truth to make the world go around. And numerous great civilizations arose. So we should know history. However, the history that schools and the media teach is either woefully incomplete, irrelevant, terribly distorted, or an outright lie. We must either find books that date before 1960, those before 1900 in ancient works, or scour the internet for information. That's because the internet is the only modern source of information that is not unfairly censored across the board. There's some censorship, but there's ways around that. Since modern society objects to my proposition, I will reiterate common contentions which support modernism and postmodernism and briefly answer each one here. Contention 1. Our world is far better because of machines, life-saving medicines, and tools of communication. Yet, machines have put millions out of work, while cars have crippled millions while polluting the air. With people living longer through medicines, this will prevent countless others to even be born, since our world has limited space. And people are far more distant than in yesteryear. Many don't even have one friend despite our tools of communication. Contention 2. Throughout history, women were treated like garbage. Yet, this is little more than an outright lie. And in the rare cases where women were mistreated, men were mistreated even worse. Contention 3. Slavery and torture were everywhere. Yet this is a wild exaggeration. Also, some slavery was justified because it was a punishment for criminals where societies lacked prisons. And slavery is still widespread in third world countries today while torture continues. And in addition, we have a new type of slavery and torture today. Hard drug addiction. Certain drugs lead to absolute mental and physical torture. This torture lasts far longer than the typical medieval torture. Contention 4. Great scientific advancements have replaced a world of harmful superstition and ignorance. Yet actually, most scientific advancements are only advancements in trivial knowledge. Also, when science would be highly beneficial, it is often not used due to stubbornness, fear, political correctness, or financial greed. And now we have a completely unscientific viewpoint of men's nature, women's nature, the nature of the races, and human nature in general. And that way we have gone backwards. And actually, much of the ignorance and superstition of yesteryear was harmless, while harmful ignorance and superstition reign in third world countries today. For example, African medicine men now harvest body parts from albino children. And superstition is increasing in America through New Age beliefs and practices. Contention 5. The Holy Spirit slowly increased his operation as humanity became more ready for it. Yet, this argument is actually a blatant contradiction of Christianity. In John 16:13, Jesus told his disciples that when the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide them into all truth. That did not mean all scientific facts or truths that we have no business knowing. He meant all truth necessary to thrive as a society. And this Holy Spirit came upon those disciples in Acts chapter 2. That was 2,000 years ago. And by going back to the very beginning, that should end all argument for so-called advancement. That's because it is illogical for our Creator to have failed to give the original humans what was necessary for them to thrive, or to lie to them about what was needed. Regardless of what, our world is certainly not advancing for any species but our own. In fact, many species of animals and plants have been wiped off the face of the earth by arrogant Homo sapiens. And today there are perverted sociopaths who actually film animal torture for kicks. And for those who don't have the heart to care about others, they should consider that we now have the technology to wipe ourselves off the face of our planet with nuclear bombs. Talk about progress! So, repudiate today's one big problem. Postmodernism and some modernism, and do everything to grasp the truth. No matter the problem, no matter the issue, truth is the one and only path to take.